Hi guys, welcome to another Star Wars The Old Republic free-to-play option video guide for, in this case, Jedi Sentinel Focus Spec. The idea of these guides is to help you to have some idea of how you can go ahead and use the spec and class of your choice effectively and as close as possible to the full thing with only the 24 quick slots you're provided as a free-to-play player. So if you do not want to spend a couple of extra dollars to get that third quick slot bar, this is a way that you can go about just using the ones you have to get basically everything you need. Let's begin just by saying that when you are at level 1, as a Jedi Knight, here's what you should have. You should have Strike, Slash, SWtOR form, Introspection, and Force Might, as well as Quick Travel. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove Quick Travel from your bar altogether. You don't need it on there. When you want a Quick Travel, press P. It'll bring up a list of abilities. You can choose it from there. It's how I do it, and I am a subscriber. It's how many people do it. It's fine. You don't need to use a quick slot with that. The one thing which is kind of annoying is you're going to also want to take Force Might off. Force Might is your buff. Every class has their own buff. What Force Might is going to do for you is it's going to allow you to increase your stats for 60 minutes or until you die. This is another ability which hopefully you won't be dying that much, and every 60 minutes isn't that bad to have to press P and find the thing in the list and reactivate it when it runs out. And the truth is, I can tell you that Quick Travel, after having played for just a little bit of time, it got to the point where it took me just seconds to get there by pressing P and finding that. And the same will be true of you using Force Might. It will not be that cumbersome to you, so don't even worry about that. Finally, you are going to do something right off the bat to save yourself a quick slot. You're going to activate SWtOR form, and then you're going to take it off your quick bar. This is the lightsaber form. You're going to be in as a Jedi Sentinel in Focus Spec. There's 3 different forms. Okay, kind of think of it like Kung Fu, Judo, and Karate. 3 different kind of styles of combat. Well, SWtOR form is the one for Focus Spec. It's always going to be on, never going to be anything else. So you can turn it on, get rid of it. You don't need it on your bar anymore. The same is true of Sprint. At level 15, when you train Sprint, you're going to turn Sprint on, and then you can take it off your quick bar. It's in that P menu when you press P if you really need to get at it, but you don't really ever need to think of it again. It's totally fine. So with that, here's how we're going to go about getting you to fit everything, all these different abilities in there. Very simply, what you're going to do is I want you, as you go through, to train every ability, every level that it's offered to you. So when you hit level 3 and it offers you to train Force Sweep, train it. When you hit level 16 and it tells you to train Leg Slash, train it. That's the basis. Now, how do we cut down on things? I'm now going to go through and tell you those abilities which you should take off anytime you need another space. So in other words, when you're going through leveling and you find that all of a sudden you have 24 abilities on those bars and you need one more space for the next thing, you can take off one of the items I'm going to have told you to. And you can also look at the list. I will have a list for you linked in this video, which is going to enable you to just read it and so you're not going to need to go back and try to listen and find it. So the first one for which this is true is Riposte. Riposte is an ability which you train at level 5. You can leave it on there, but eventually when you need an extra space, you can take Riposte off. It's this kind of defensive ability almost that is really a lot more for a Jedi Guardian in tank form. Some people use it for some other things, for Sentinel and stuff like that, but it's a very minor thing to get rid of. You wouldn't even miss it. So you can get rid of that whenever you need a spot. Another one that you're going to get rid of is Cauterize. Cauterize is an ability which you would be training at level 12, and it's really mainly for the Watchman spec. Some people might use it for focus, but you really are supposed to be doing other things in the focus spec. You're not supposed to really be using this, so you can get rid of that at whatever point in time you find that you need to free up space. The same goes for Joyo form. You don't even necessarily need to train this one because, like I said, you're not going to be in anything except for Shichu form. So you could even just not train Joyo form. But if you do, don't put it on your bar. Heroic Moment is another thing to not put on your bar. Heroic Moment is a super survival skill, which you use when you've bit off more than you can chew and you are in trouble. The way that people who have been playing the game for a year use this ability, people like me, people who have a subscription and all the quick bars they could ever use, is they use the thing once every couple of days, if that, when they find that they've bit off more than they can chew and they're in a big mess. Or they use it even more so really when there's a boss fight that they're having a real hard time with, and they think that this little extra boost will help them out. Maybe the boss has killed them a couple times or something, and they just really want to get it over with and beat him. Well, they'll use this. So what you should do, take it off your quick bar. If you run into a battle or a boss or something you're having a hard time with, you can always go ahead, press P, and pull it onto your bar temporarily. Replace something on there temporarily, and then move it back off after. You don't need to have a Heroic Moment on your bar all the time by any means. The next thing I'm going to suggest that you get rid of is Cyclone Slash. Cyclone Slash is an AoE attack, especially as Focus Spec Sentinel. Your main attack is Force Sweep, this big AoE attack. You're going to be doing that all the time, which is one of the reasons it's a really great spec for leveling, because you're always running into all these just clusters of mobs, and having this very strong AoE attack is really helpful. You don't really need this other one. Sure, it would be nice, but if you need an extra space, which you're going to, I would, get rid of Cyclone Slash. You're fine without it. Finally, Inspiration. Get rid of Inspiration. Inspiration is a skill which is used mainly for operations and PvP with very coordinated teams. It's an ability which provides a buff to your allies for a certain point of time, a certain period of time, and that's why it's used when you need to really increase your DPS in a raid to kill the boss when he's at his weakest, or when you're really trying to use it to burst down a healer or something in PvP with an organized team. It's not the kind of thing just for everyday leveling or even for everyday flashpoints that you're really going to use. You can maybe try it out, see if you like it, but ultimately I think that you're going to agree that removing it is the best thing. So that is that. Lastly, Opportune Strike and Pommel Strike, don't train them. Every class has at least one, some have two, abilities which, the way that they read is it says it does a certain amount of damage to weak, standard, and strong targets. And is only usable on incapacitated or stunned targets. So it's a stronger attack than most, but it's only useful on your everyday trash mobs, not the harder enemies that you'd really like to use it for. It doesn't fit in well with the rest of your skills, with the way your spec works. It's pretty random. I don't train it ever on any of my characters. Even though I have 6 quick bars, I only have so many comfortable places to put controls on the keyboard. It doesn't pass the test. It doesn't deserve a button. I know a lot of other people feel the same way. Just don't even train these things, and you're saving yourself 2 slots right there. So that's really that. If you just train everything and then remove those particular things, you should be fine. In the event that there's a couple of other things you'd like to put on your quick bar, for example, your speeder, you're probably going to definitely want to put that on there. Your maybe a med pack or something, but certainly the speeder. There's some other abilities which I think is best if you keep, but it wouldn't be the end of the world to get rid of them. And I'll tell you what they are. These are the ones that you can probably get rid of if you had to. Blade Storm is one. It's a very useful ability, but it doesn't fit strictly into this spec. It's much more of a combat spec ability. And so if you really need to find some way to get rid of something, get rid of that. Disable Droid is another one. As a Jedi Sentinel, you do not have a way to do a long CC on biological targets. You do on droids. You can disable them for 60 seconds. The thing is, you're going to be running into the groups of 3 or 4 biological enemies, right? You're going to have to fight them all. You can't disable one of them for 60 seconds. So the way I'm looking at it is, if that's the case, you can manage to do the same thing for a group of 3 or 4 droids without disabling one of them. Yeah, I think you should have it on your quick bar, absolutely. But if you absolutely are looking for one more spot, you could consider taking that one off. Lastly, what I'll say is that you could consider removing one of your defensive cooldowns. I really wouldn't recommend that. I don't think it's the best idea, but if you really want another slot, as a Jedi Sentinel, you do have 5 defensive cooldowns. You have Saber Ward, you have Rebuke, you have Pacify, Force Camouflage, Guarded by the Force. Maybe either Pacify or Rebuke could be taken off your bar if you really wanted another slot for some reason. Jedi Sentinels kind of have a hard time surviving damage sometimes. It can be important to use these kinds of abilities. That being said, once you have your healing companion, you might find that you're comfortable getting rid of one of those 2 if you really, really want some other slot for some reason. So I wouldn't recommend it, but it's not out of the question if you just absolutely have to have something else. So that's that for the skills. If you just go through and remove what I said and train everything, you should have everything you need to play a Focus Spec Sentinel. Right now I'm just going to go through a build here, just very quickly take you through level by level what you should do to, as a free-to-play player, level up and get your Focus Spec built here. The main part of this build is going to be, generally speaking, the same as you would see if you were not a free-to-play player. The end of it's kind of a little different from some things you might see because I'm trying to give you a couple little benefits which I think might help you in particular as a free-to-player. And so I'll explain that when we get there. So at level 10, when you get your first point, put it into Insight. At level 11, Insight again. At level 12, Insight again. 13 and 14, Swelling Winds. And then continuing forward, Swift Slash. Right, on 15, 16, you get the idea. Then Zephyrian Slash. Fill that up. Then take Blade Focus. Next, take Zealous Leap. This is an ability. It goes on your quick bar. It's important for this spec. You need to have that on your quick bar. Make sure that it's on there. Next, take Saber Strength. Both points in Pulse. Now, Felling Blow. This is the whole spec here. This and what you're going to take next, which is Singularity. These make it so that after every leap, your Force Sweep is an automatic critical hit. And Singularity causes your Force Sweep to do twice as much damage. So you are going to have this Force Sweep that is doing massive, massive damage to 5 targets at a time. It's very strong, especially for leveling. It's really, really quite good. After Singularity, put a point into SWtOR Mastery and finish it up. Then 2 into Agility Training. And finally, Gravity. Then put points into Focused Resonance, Enduring, and ultimately Force Exhaustion. Force Exhaustion is another ability. It goes on your quick bar. It's one of the ways by which you are going to build up your Singularity and cause your sweep to do all that incredible damage. But as you read through these skills and see what they do, you'll understand how that works. Next, put in 2 points into inner focus. This is where it starts to get potentially a little different from what you might normally see. Then come over here and go dual wield mastery 1, dual wield mastery 2, and dual wield mastery 3. Next, put in 2 points into second wind. This ability causes your crowd control break to heal you. I'll say it again. It causes your crowd control break to heal you. It's a free heal you can use on yourself at any time. I suggest doing this, even though your average Focus Spec Sentinel might not put these exact points here at these exact time. I think that this will help you in these late 40s to survive some areas and not have to respawn as much. It's at least worth a try. Come over here and do Valor twice, and then a point in defensive forms. And that's it. That is kind of it's a little funky at the end there. I mean, you might want to swap some of these things around. This is not exactly, if I was doing a focus build, how I would probably do it. But it's certainly something which is very good and should help you out. Certainly up until the point when this is all filled up, it's straight on the way that you'd see it elsewhere. So, again, you can look at the text link, which will give you an easy-to-read version of all this with a list of all the skills I said that you should remove when you need to. And keep in mind that there's a video for each of the classes as well. Each advanced class has its own video explaining the same way of approaching things and how to do it with only 2 quick slot bars. So I hope that works out for you guys, and I hope you have fun.